Why should you care? Important question. These are some stats that I found from the US Bureau of Labor Statistics. They are very recent. They were updated on September 6th of this year. According to this, the data science jobs are about to grow 35% between the years 2022 and 2032. And this is not just the job of a data scientist. This is all the data science jobs, which we'll see further in the future slides. There is a plethora of those that you can pick from based on what your expertise is, where your brain works better, and what your interest is. And there are about almost 18,000 openings for data scientists every single year on average, which is a large number. That number is actually bigger than all the other occupations, and it is growing at a much faster rate than other occupations. Based on some global LinkedIn data on premium job postings between January 2023 to June 2023, they do it quarterly, but based on these 6 months of data, the demand for AI engineers more than doubled in the past 3 months, growing by over 109%. That is a big change, especially amidst the fact that we are having a lot of layoffs. For something to grow double in the time when everybody's like there's layoffs, that's a huge difference. Another innovative engineering role which kind of connects with this is research and development engineer. That is not exactly something that you have to be really focused on AI or data science for that, but that is definitely something if you want to pursue more research and if you want to go into R&D after that. If you don't want to do postdoc, but you in fact want to go to the corporate but still do research, that's a good option as well. And that grew over 100% as well. That grew 113%. There are some more facts about data science. In 2022, the median pay was $103,500 per year, which is almost $50 an hour, which is, I think the national average overall is about 29. So this is already much bigger than the national average over other jobs. Typical entry-level education is bachelor's degree, but there are a lot of people who directly go into data coming from different fields. They have PhD in mechanical engineering, they'll have environmental science PhD, or they will be high school students who went to some boot camps, went through that route, and then joined this field. But typically they ask for bachelor's, but most of the companies want masters. So it's a little harder to get into field, but if you have enough projects and experience that you can show, then it's a good job, it pays good.
And it makes more sense to have project-based classes, right? Rather than just looking at the transcript, right? So
yes.
They can show their stuff on GitHub and things like that, right?
Yeah, nobody asks, like, I shouldn't say nobody. The big 5 companies do still want lead code, how to solve a palindrome. They'll still ask you that. But overall, for most of the very deep data science jobs, they want to look at your projects. How did you tackle a problem? If you saw some data, how did you make sense of that data? How did you gather insights from that data? And if you just saw a problem, how did you get the data for that? Where did you look for the data? What was your approach in solving a problem, and what's the result? For some reason, all the interviewers are very result-centric. Doesn't matter if you do it as just a hobby project or a school project or a job project. They really care about the results, but they also care about the approach. So you have to know how to evaluate your models as well. That's something that you would want to learn if you want to get more into the AI and data science field. There were about 169,000 jobs in 2022 in just the data science field, which to me looks like a lot. That is a lot of jobs. And then, as we saw in the previous chart, it's growing at the average of 35%, according to the US Bureau of Labor Statistics. But according to LinkedIn, it's growing at the rate of 39%. So even better. The employment change is 59,000. I don't really know what that means.
As economists, we should be able to answer that.
Anyone wants to volunteer in answering that question? Okay. It'll stay a mystery unless somebody wants to come up later and explain this to me.
Like turnovers and things like that, right? They have ways to calculate that.
Okay. Then I think this includes the layoffs.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, churn rate is a big problem because there is a gap with the skill level and the requirement level. So because right now everybody wants ChatGPT in the experience. You should have 5 years of experience with ChatGPT. It didn't come out that early. You can have LLM experience, but most recruiters get confused between what an LLM means versus what ChatGPT means. So that's where that gap comes from. Thanks for chiming in. So as we saw in the previous slide, there were over 169,000 jobs that data scientists held last year. And some of these are the splits of who the employers were, what industries they came from. 13% were computer system design and related services, so tech jobs as we would kind of imagine. But 9% surprisingly were insurance carriers and related services. Insurance is a big business in the US, so that is where they really want to target the users and understand what the user will click on and what the user needs and how to show them the data that they would want to buy the insurance from their company. So that's where a lot of the jobs come from as well. It's boring, but it's also fun when you get down to it. Management of companies and enterprises made about 8%, and then scientific and technical consulting services made about 7%, which then also split between all the other fields. This 7% also went to the rest of the industries. The scientific R&D services were about 5%, and like we saw previously, that number is increasing by 113%. So that 5% is going up really fast over the next 10 years. So if you're interested in research, it's a good field to start your research in. And there's really good professors here at USC who are doing research in computer science, in NLP, but also connected with economics or gaming. So there's a lot of intersection where you can leverage data